You are now listening to the Dual Position Podcast.
The boys are back to talk all things SuperCoach all season long.
Please welcome your hosts, Whisperer and Brew.
Well, howdy doody. Thursday looked awful. First game Friday looked awful. It was all doom and gloom until, what a Sunday, man. How are we?
Yep. Hey, Whisperer. Nailed it on the head there. Thursday was diabolical, and then Sunday has given us a treat. But before I continue, shout out to Brew as well. Thoughts with him. Appreciate you having me on as well tonight.
No, mate. Anytime. Look, I'm trying to schedule you in as my sort of moving forward Sunday guest, if we can commit to it, and we'll go from there. But how'd you end up this week? As everyone can see, it's 1,300, mate. You've got to be happy with that, considering Thursday, Friday, you were messaging me doom and gloom, not overly happy with a particular Nico Hines. You were on the fence about trading him in last week, finally pulled the trigger, and it looked like a trade that you didn't love, but obviously the round panned out pretty well, and we move forward from there.
Yeah, 1301. So it's actually my first score over 1,000 this season so far. So it's good to get a good score this week. PAPENHUYZEN was the mainstay, and really the points came on Sunday. So it was doom and gloom, but fortunately things turned out nicely. Some of my trade-ins like Hines didn't quite pop off, but look, I'm happy they're in my team, and we go from here. Hopefully should be seeing a green arrow this week as well.
Mate, I was like 660 through 12 players coming into today, and we've more than doubled that in 6 players. Obviously, it helps when you've got a particular fullback from Melbourne that scores nearly 400 points as your captain, and we'll touch on him today. But overall, mate, 1,300, I think it's above par. I think you have it above par as well. It's very hard this week to judge what is considered par, because it really comes down to 3 categories. Do you own Papenhuyzen? Did you captain him? Or do you not own him at all? So it's very hard to put a number on it. But both of us were captainers, captainers. And look, I'm ecstatic with my 1355, back-to-back 1,300 weeks for me. Really hoping that pushes me into the top 1K. And then for you, mate, your first score over 1,000 this year. It's a pretty good one in 1,300. The biggest I've seen, shout out to Tom Figjam, good mate of mine, 1,540 points this week from him. He was a Papton Kappenhauser, a Moses owner, a Brown owner, Jack Bird, he had him in there, Penasini, obviously, like, it was just a monster last game from him today, and 1,340 is the biggest I've seen, but there will be some big scores this week that went hard on someone like a Mitch Moses.
Yeah, no, that's an insane score. So what's that? 1,500. Yeah, that's great. That's got to be near top of the week, surely.
Hey, my mate Tom's back judging us on par scores. Once again, par's very subjective as to where you sit. So it's very hard considering, we've got a guy that nearly had a 400-point swing for some teams. Let's move into the first game, a game that I really, really don't want to touch on. It was looking like a trialless affair. It was the Titans 6, the Titans 8, the Tigers 6. The Tigers had this game won, and then a Toby Sexton kick off the upright, landed in the hands of the Tigers, and that's game until Aaron Clark punched the ball out and AJ Brimson scored and ripped the hearts out of all Tigers fans.
Yeah, it's a crushing blow for the Tigers not getting this one over the line. So I watched the first half of this, and then I was driving and had it just on the radio, and it didn't sound like anything exciting. Yeah, didn't miss much, to be honest. I was just trying to hear out for Dave Fafita because I had him in my team, had him vice captain, and I thought, hopefully I'm just hearing the commentary, Dave Fafita crashes over. Nothing like that. Scrappy game from all reports. I haven't even bothered trying to go back and watch the second half highlights. I don't think I missed much in honesty.
Hey,
but really just dour game.
If you told me when both of them got ruled out very late on Thursday that David Fafita would top score for his side in a win, I would expect huge things. But top score in his side with a 53. Are we happy with that? Are we sad about that? I mean, I made a couple of rage trade plans 10 o'clock Thursday night. But looking back on it, 53 in a game where he did absolutely nothing. What are we doing with him? Your initial thoughts with Fafita? Are we moving forward and persisting with him, or is it time to cut ties?
I think it really depends on the makeup of your team. So I know it's a bit of a cop-out answer, but look, as you mentioned, 53 without doing anything is kind of a good thing, but it's also scary in the sense that he's not hitting those high scores that we were hoping for from last year. Now, if you're in a position like myself, I think I've got other priorities, so I think he's going to stay for the foreseeable future. But say, for example, you've got your team well set up, I think you can cut ties with the likes of Fafita. Titans draw is not the best. And when we touch on in a game in a couple of sections with the Rabbitohs, we've got the likes of, say, Cam Murray is absolutely killing it. Draw opens up. I can very easily see a nice switch there. So kind of depends, I think, on the makeup of your team. But look, if you're in that position, I don't think it's like I'm not fearful of him going massive because we're just not seeing it at all. We've gotten 4 rounds of proof of it, but we're not seeing anything yet. So I think there's no reason to not be concerned about having to sell him.
Teams are just giving him the turbo treatment, and that is just putting 2 or 3 blokes on him the minute he touches the ball. And someone made a great point on Twitter that the fact that the game is not as quick, it just doesn't allow him just to continually get on that front foot. We could be talking about him very differently. We could be talking about him with a closer to 85-point score. He had that tap from the 10-metre line in the first half and was inches away from putting the ball down for a try. So that could be an 85-point game. But I feel like with Fafita, we're continually saying week after week, it could have been. And then we get to like round 8 or round 9, and he's 570K, and we're still saying that. So I think there has to come a time when there's a line in the sand, we move on from him. I own Sam Walker, who I'm getting very, very impatient with, and Fafita might need to be the one that makes way to free up some cash for me to upgrade my halfback slot to Cleary. But, mate, there is nothing to talk about this game. The top score was Luciano Leilua with 56, Alex Twal with a 55, Fafita with a 53, and Nofaluma with a 50. There was 4 scores over 50 in this entire game, and, yeah, it was not looking good. And as a Tigers fan, the less we speak about this game, the better. Moving on to the first game on Friday, this also was not much else to write home about. The Sharks 16, the Knights 0. All eyes were on Nicho Hynes. A lot of people were chasing that hat-trick of 100 scores, yourself included, me as well. I took the vice-captaincy off Hynes very, very late and put on Fafita, and when Fafita did nothing, I was dreading. I was watching this game through like the slits in my fingers, just hoping that Hynes didn't go big, and a 44. So I'm not too upset because basically everyone in the top 10, 15% of teams should own Nicho Hynes, so I'm not losing anything there. Still made some cash, but yeah, not really ideal considering the 2 back-to-back 100 scores he put on.
Yeah, look, so I'm a new owner of Nicho Hynes, so I missed out on his nice tons the last couple of weeks, and I did bring him in this week. Now, obviously, I've got a bit of a penchant recently, it seems, for Palms. Now, last week I thought, rain, hail, or shine, it doesn't matter for Nicho Hynes. I clearly didn't factor in wind. The first half was extremely windy that whole game, and it was all of his kicks were just going up in the air, not going anywhere meaningful. So that really did hamper, I think, the Sharks, or at least him, in the first half. So, look, I'm happy enough that he got to like at least a respectable score, 44. Still beat his break even. But look, I think this, like we've seen enough in the first 3 rounds, and I'm happy enough to have him. Just didn't quite work out this week. They've got the Tigers coming up in round 5. Now, even that's a little bit harder to call because the Tigers have shown just a bit of grit in defense, but the Sharks are a good outfit. So hopefully things turn around for Hines in round 5.
Long-time Supercoach players, long-time listeners of any podcast will know that we all have a bit of love for Sifa Talakai. We all have him as like just a like. I honestly think he could be a 70-point average guy if you got consistent game time, but he can never ever get consistent game time. But we saw just how destructive he was. I think on Dane Gagai's birth certificate under father, it will have Sifa Talakai because he was just all over him. He made Gagai and Young and I think it was Clifford just look like park footy players. Like he was damaging, and this is the Sifa Talakai that we all know at his best what he can do week in, week out.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was a couple of seasons ago when he was just coming through the Sharks team. I had him parked in my center wing, and he was just there for ages from the beginning of the season. And eventually he just became a wrecking ball back end of the year. And so if you ever see him getting a run in the starting 13 and what looks like an extended period of time, you always have to be on notice because he's such a wrecking ball. Showed it in that game against the Knights. This has got a very Supercoach friendly game. Likes to offload tackle breaks, as you mentioned. Definitely playing on the edge can always get those attacking stats as well. So yeah, definitely someone I'm going to always keep an eye on. Very big score here. I think it will kind of also depend on the return of Wade Graham, what that kind of does. Does that mean, Talakai stays in the back line? Maybe with Wilton, potentially there's some competition there as well. But look, he's played so good that maybe there's a chance he can stay in the starting 13.
Yeah, well, Connor Tracy was battling fitness all sort of preseason with an off-string groin injury, which he re-aggravated last week. So maybe the centre spot opens up because, Wilton and Graham are sort of battling for that back row spot. So you think the only way Talakai's getting in is in the centres. I've just realised on the YouTube stream, I haven't changed the handle. So you are still known as Brew SC. So I've got to fix that for next week. But everyone knows who you are because the handle wasn't the very first screen. Ronaldo Mulatalo, Brew and I actually touched on him in the preseason. He's one of these guys that I'm probably going to own some point of the year, but you just got to work out, you got to pick your timing because he will go on runs, and 104 points for him this week, and in a side that scored 18 points is pretty impressive. It just looked like that side of the field was humming.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way about a lot of the Sharks backline players, actually. I remember last year there was a point where, a lot of people were jumping on the likes of Jesse Ramian because he had really good underlying numbers. Again, you can see Ramian, Katoa, Mulatalo all did pretty good this week. You kind of have to pick and choose with them. It's really difficult to if you pick them, I think you have to stick with them for a while because they can have, games where they blow hot and cold. But yeah, I mean, the Sharks we know are a good team overall. They do have the Storm coming up in a couple of weeks. Maybe you could wait. But look, the fact they've got those big scores could be a nice pod to consider. So yeah, definitely points of interest there, I think, in the Sharks backline.
Shout out to Aiden Tolman scoring a try, scoring the first try in his 300th game. Also shout out to Britton Nakora, who I pumped up all preseason, got me scores of 33 and 40, and then has just gone 71-66 with no attacking stats in the last 2 weeks. That is awesome to see. Love you, Britton. Mate, I cannot wait to own Cam McInnes for about 400k in about 3 weeks' time when he finally gets the starting job back, because that's gonna be handy. If you don't own Green or something, and you want to upgrade from Randall, Cameron McInnes, when he's at discount price, when he finally gets the start back, could be very, very juicy because Craig Fitzgibbon obviously is an avid Supercoach player and he's trying to kill his price as much as possible, and then I'm sure he'll pick him up as well.
Do you even need to upgrade Randall though? Sitting up.
Shout out to Chris Randall with 62. Played him for the first 3 rounds, did nothing, benched him this week, and then pumps out a 60.
Play the full 80. I'm just had a quick look at the minutes as well. I have a feeling maybe Tyson Frizzell's injury played a factor in that. Potentially because of that. That just meant that, say, for example, what I don't know what they used to do with Phoenix Crossland. There could have been a bit of switch with the rotation. But he played the full 80.
Even last week, what we've seen. Even last week when they had Barnett sent, they were playing with 12 men, and Randall didn't play 80 then. So that worried me, and that's the reason why I benched him this week. And then, had to play the full 80 this week, which, look, I'm probably not going to start him again next week because I want to see what happens with Phoenix Crossland or whatever. But yeah, look, let's just touch on your fantastic trading this week of Brodie Jones, Leo Thompson, because I know that you were looking at sort of a decent backup bench forward, and then you played him this week, and with the Frizzell injury, you're like, oh, sweet, there might be some more minutes here, and he did sweet FA.
He started started really strong. Looked really good. I was watching the game and I thought, oh, this is fantastic. Like his PPM was looking amazing. And then he only played like 32 minutes total, which was really disappointing. Downgrading Finn Blake, who we'll touch on a little bit later, but he did decently well himself. And I thought Leo Thompson starting, looked at the numbers. Hopefully he was going to average like a base of like 40, and that would be enough to get some good cash growth. Just front row forward is pretty plodder. So I thought take the money out of there and use that to upgrade to Hines and some of the other upgrades I did this week. But yeah, a bit disappointing. Maybe I need to stop trusting Adam O'Brien in his minutes rotation. He seems to never help me out.
I thought you'd learn by now, mate. I'm also pretty disappointed in Brodie Jones. A lot of hype for him. Averaged about 50 points last year when he started. I'm hoping it's just him down to it's his first game of the season and was a little bit underdone because he only got like a 32. And he was one of my options to trade for Fifita down to free up just a bunch of cash. So I'll probably watch Brodie Jones again next week. And look, if the minutes pick up and the production picks up, we've got 2 more weeks to look at him before the price goes up. So not too bad. Hopefully, yeah, he comes good. Apart from that, the Sharks are just a very, very good side. They will be battling the top 4, I suspect. They've started the season a lot stronger than what I thought they would have with all the new combinations or whatever. Moving into the third game, the Panthers are it's just unfair how good they are. Like, they're just so clinical. Cleary comes in. They don't miss a beat. Isaac Tago, Talon May. If you went early on May last week, you're a genius. If you went early again on him this week, you reap the rewards. And yeah, look, I'm going to make it no secret. Come my Instagram posts when I do my best buys, Talon May will be number 1 because this is the week that you've got to get on him before he goes up, 85K?
Oh, it'll be something ridiculous, right? And yeah, look, I'm filthy. I haven't got on him just because I had other things I wanted to do. He was in my plans for sure, but I thought I don't have to risk it. I can wait till week 3. And look, yeah, if you've jumped on already, you've reaped the benefits. They do play the Dogs, I want to say, this coming week. They play a good opponent, I think. So yeah, Taylor May is 100% going to be the most purchased player this week. And look, even if he only gets like 2-3 more weeks in the Panthers side, he's going to make bulk cash. And for whatever reason, people have talked about maybe Toto comes back in on the right wing, Taylor May stays on the left, maybe May goes to the right side. Either way, I don't see any downside. I think you just have to go with Taylor May. He's close to a must-buy this week if you don't own him.
And he won't be an AE nightmare either. With like Toto's injury at the end of last year, with the injury that started this year, and seeing how good May has been, I wouldn't expect Ivan Cleary to play Brian Toto much through Origin. So you could potentially just hold him on your bench. It's only a 250k investment, despite his price tag might be 380k or whatever. But when you bring him in, like, you're just expecting a good score. So he could be a fine hold over Origin despite the decent price. He top scored with a 97 to back up with his 100-point performance last week. Shout out to William and Kickout owners who held strong through the tiring times last week. He bounced back with an 82. That left edge just looks really, really good, as like we know it's one of the best spots in the game. Dylan Edwards with a 78. Like, he never really is a huge fantasy output guy, but I tell you what, if you were building a side and Dylan Edwards was your fullback, you wouldn't be too upset because he just puts his body on the line week in, week out. Always a bloke that will average over 220 minutes a game, just do whatever he has to do for the team. And yeah, like, obviously he's outshined by the guys like Papenhuyzen, Teddy, Turbo, Latrell. Like, there's just better fullbacks for New South Wales, but Dylan Edwards is like, he just does a 7 to 8 out of 10 every week, and he's just gotten a lot better over the years.
No, he's really improved, and his running meters have been insane the first few weeks of the season. Supercoach wise, it's always hard to jump on someone like Dylan Edwards when you've got like Turbo, Papenhuyzen, Tedesco. It just seems like there's always slightly better options than him. If he was available anywhere else, he'd be an awesome shout. Just unfortunately, he's in the most stacked position, you have to say.
So a 34 from Nathan Cleary looked a little bit shaky off the tee, uncharacteristically. What are we doing with him? Is he a guy that, look, I told everyone to wait on him this week. I'm sure you were the same. Like, it wasn't a wise investment to jump on straight away. But moving forward, like, what was the mark? What was the point score in your head that if Cleary hit, you're like, okay, we have to get him in? Like, if he scored 60 this week in his first game back, is that enough for you to be like, yeah, we've got to get him in? Or are you were you getting him in regardless, or were you just waiting no matter what he did?
Oh, ideally, I probably so yes, I was telling people to wait. I didn't think it'd be quite worth it. He's just coming back off an injury. Like, we know how good he is, but just give him the game. It was the Rabbitohs as well, not the easiest opponent. I think if he had scored like 150 plus, I would have been like, sheesh, I think I need this guy like ASAP. And I probably would have been doing like trade boosts of, Fafita down to like a cheapie upgrade someone like Sam Walker or maybe even Schneider, you'd have to try and maybe get ways to get him in. But now, like, look, he's got that 34. Hopefully, it means he'll drop quite nicely in cash. So I think it'll be interesting to see because I think the Panthers draw does open up nicely now. So obviously, we know that he can turn it around and bang out 120-30 next week. No worries. But I think when you've got enough other players doing well who are not so expensive, I think we've seen so far that a lot of the guns coming into this year have been overpriced. And I think you don't necessarily have to go for them straight away. They're not going that much better that they're worth their price tag. So I would personally keep waiting. But I think with Cleary, I'm kind of needing to take it, I think, week by week, really. Just because we know that, look, if he starts smashing it and like his price might not even look like it goes down, then yeah, got to try and make moves to get him in.
I think I'm going to try and get him in this week. And not because I love it.
Ooh.
Not because I love it, is because I own Sam Walker. What other halfback is lighting it up, really? Like, Mitch Moses, yeah, he's had a great game today. He had an 80-point game in the first week. But I think he had a 34 and a 50 in the 2 weeks in between that. Jerome Hughes has been hot and cold. Cherry Evans, probably the next best to look at. Like, halfback is just kind of, And I know I'm going to lose cash on him, but I'm actually like potentially looking at bringing him in because I do have Feeder underperforming and I've got Sam Walker underperforming. So there's a downgrade there. And I've also got like 180k in the bank. So we could do that. And then we've got to remember that Nathan Cleary's 34. It's only in his rolling average for like one cycle because that will drop out straight away. So yeah, we will look at that. Obviously, Teamless Tuesday, half my side might not get named and then we'll have to reassess. But like initial thoughts at 8:38 on a Sunday night is that, yeah, we might be looking at making some plays to get him in, not because I love his performances, just because there is not a whole lot else to do. And the reason why I didn't bring in Brad Schneider last week is because of that exact reason. I had plans on getting Cleary and kind of ASAP and didn't want to keep making changes in the halves. But for the Panthers, we touched on sort of their top guys. Isaac Tago, yet again, he ain't a cash cow, man. He's looking like a season-long keeper.
Yeah, for sure. I think the way that the Panthers, how good they are as an overall team, plus just down their left edge, he's got good base. He's getting the attacking stats. So it's like I'm not looking at him as someone that I will eventually want to cash in at peak price. He's staying in there for now. He's not showing anything to warrant a sell at all. And shout out to Jose Yo. I brought him in for Angus Crichton a few weeks ago, 55 there. So he's been pretty solid the past couple of weeks. Nothing spectacular, but at his price, look, I'll happily take 55. Without any kind of major attacking stats.
Yeah, I didn't jump on Isaiah Yo, and I was telling everyone to sort of wait on him because I wanted to see how he went with Cleary back in the side, and you expect that combination just to get better. So a 55 from him is, yeah, very, very sustainable. For the Rabbitohs, Cam Murray, as you said, probably the ideal replacement for David Fafita, 76 points. They're both going to play Origin, so it's not like you're tossing up one or the other. Alex Johnson with a 74, back to his annoying Supercoach output if you don't own because he just falls over and gets points. Campbell Graham, a guy that I am looking at heavily with the South draw opening up, he 72. I think he had another great score a couple weeks ago as well. Damien Cook has strung together two pretty good back-to-back performances with a 69 from him. Nice. Tom Burgess with a 66, Latrell with a 68. Another one I'm actually looking at picking up over the next couple of weeks, maybe for a Teddy, because it's very hard to drop Pap at the moment. But South draw, like Brew and I touched on this for quite a while, mate. If you look at South draw from like round 5 to like round 22, I think they play one top 4 side, one or two top 4 sides in that 16-week period, 14-week period. So South's assets are ones that I want to jump on. Cody Walker as well, he had a 55, but Lockie Ilias with a 55, he's no doubt like his best game, not only from a Supercoach standpoint, but just an NRL standpoint, he looked better. Owners are very lucky he didn't go to the bin for, I think it was a professional foul, so a 55 if you started him was ideal, but unless you were forced to, based off his track record this year, I'd find it hard to see many sides that started him willingly. I know some may have with all the outs, like Billy Smith and Bo Firma and whatever, the news that Tal Moan was getting put to the bench. I can see why people may have started him then, but I doubt many willingly started him. But if he did, 55 is his best score, and well done to you. Yeah,
look, it's good to get a decent score from Ilias. Hopefully that's good for his cash rises in the future. He looks like a bit of a slow burn. I saw someone in the chats actually asked, do I trade Ilias or Schneider? It's a bit of a tough call because Schneider probably looks maybe the better cash riser just because he's goal kicking as well. But the South draw is opening up a lot.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not quite sure. I think it really depends on your target. Say, for example, if you're doing Ilias to Munster or somehow you're doing Schneider to Cleary, I would say do the Cleary one. It's just a better upgrade. So it's really 50-50. I don't think that's an easy decision because now that the draw does open up, we saw good signs from him in the actual game, you wonder whether or not he can keep pumping out 45 to 55s a week and that'd be good for his cash growth.
Yeah, 100%. He's got that flexible duel as well, which is always handy. As a Jai Arrow owner, mate, I am getting sort of increasingly worried. He had a chance to play big minutes this week. He didn't really. Lost minutes last week to Liam Knight. Score, 46 is not awful, and you'll tread along, not going to lose cash, but we want to see those minutes creep back up to the 70-odd he was playing in round one. He is just one to monitor. It's going to round out Friday. We move into Saturday's games. The Warriors 20 against the Broncos 6. Mate, as a Selwyn Cobbo and Tony Staggs truther, where are you sitting right now?
Sell.
Just as simple as that.
Get rid of him. Can't stand him anymore. Can't believe I've got both of them in my team, and also hellbent on taking them out this week, and somehow found a way to not take them out this week, just thinking it's a good matchup. I've got other things I can do. Just write it out for another week. Yeah, just frustrating as someone like Cobbo can be held just because he's so cheap, but someone like Staggs, I think there's enough options if you've got the duels to flip. Just get rid of it. We're not seeing enough, I think, out of the Broncos attack. They don't look fully in sync. They're still a bit disjointed. They've got the Roosters and then the Panthers in the next two. Binham. They're definitely both. They're both going for me this week.
I can see the pain.
95% chance of going this week.
I can see the pain and hear the pain in your eyes and in your voice. It's awful. Look, as someone that didn't start with Cobbo or Staggs, I was terrified watching them. We always talk about the eye test. And the problem is Staggs passes it. Staggs passes the eye test because of how good he looks with the ball in hand, but he just doesn't get enough touches. And yeah, I had him as a sell last week. Definitely a sell this week. That draw does not get great. And yeah, Cobbo is probably still a tad raw for any kind of huge outputs. Payne Haas, however, is becoming quite the thorn in my side because he is very good at the football, believe it or not.
Yeah, look, I'm happy enough that I started with Payne Haas myself. He's doing what I thought he would do, play big minutes. He played 72 this week, so a big bump up there. And now what looks like an MCL injury to Pat Carrigan. Potentially could be further suspensions for Tom Flegler. You'd think that Haas is going to continue playing big minutes. So if you can swing to someone like Payne Haas, I feel like the next few weeks he will do well. Tough opposition coming up. You just expect him to just be making 40 tackles a week, trying to make a bunch of runs, trying to get the Broncos out of their own end. So yeah, look, Haas is always going to be a good buy. He's just never probably going to be the biggest priority because he's never going to give you those 100+ scores to make his price go insanely high. But I think if you can ever get to him, look, he'll be the standout front row forward come end of year. So I kind of see him as one of those guys that maybe early season you don't have to jump on just because of that price growth that I mentioned, but eventually you want to just lock him in. So yeah, look, if you can get to Haas, say for example Fafita, if you're wanting to sell Fafita and you've got duels, Fafita to Haas move could be a good play.
You took the next sentence right out of my mouth, mate. The reason why I'm not 100% sold on Cleary is because I do have that flexible duel in Jai Arrow that I can sell Fafita, shift Arrow down, and then pick up Haas. So that might be the more sensible play from me rather than the riskier one because I think I'll be in a good position. I would be surprised if I see red arrows this week, so could be pushing close to that top 1K. And at this stage of the season, you don't want to go too risky, and you kind of just want to solidify your spot at the top. And maybe that is the play for me moving forward. We'll have a look. As we said, mate, Tony Staggs 38 points, Selwyn Cobbo 22 points. Yeah, that's less said than better.
About minus 10 in errors as well, Cobbo.
Yeah, not ideal. He's still very, very raw. For the Warriors, though, Jesse Arthur, Reece Walsh, 87, 86 to respectively. Jazz Tavanga with a 76. And AFB got a bit of a boost to 59. So getting back to what we were hoping he was. The first 2 weeks, he had 45, 55s. That included line breaks. But from my memory, this game was basically all just in workload from AFB. So as an owner, hopefully you're getting back to what we can. And if we see another decent output from him, then I could look to jump on after he sort of stalled a little bit, didn't make a whole lot of cash.
Yeah, look, I did sell Fanil Blake this round, and look, he probably wasn't the biggest weak link in my team. I've got Staggs and Cobbo who are probably sitting there the biggest weak links, but and even the break even wasn't that high. I just saw the opportunity where I can downgrade. He wasn't posting massive scores, and I could use those funds to upgrade elsewhere in my team. Look, 59 all in base is a good sign. I think his minutes were pretty decent as well this week. I want to say, I'll have a quick look for it here. He played 58 minutes. So pretty good minutes. So a
big
PPM
minutes,
of about
yeah.
1 is solid. No offloads though, which I think is the major concern. You always see Finn Blake as this offloading, tackle breaking prop. Hasn't got any offloads in this game, nor any tackle breaks. So it kind of does just cap the upside. So you might just be seeing him as like a kind of 55-point player a game at this moment. And I think at that price, when you can get someone like Josh King, even Max King, who give you like 10, 15 points less, but so much more money to play with, that's kind of the main reason why I eventually did sell him. But look, if you got him, I think, and you've got, you can work with the rest of your team, it's fine to hold, just not quite seeing that upside that I think we've seen in the past.
I swear to God, Nathan Brown has just told all the Warriors players, like, if you offload, you're getting dropped. Like, I feel like none of them are just trying to get any second phase footy, which is what the Warriors thrive on. So hopefully that does improve. Sean Johnson, his first game back, 45. Ewan Aiken, 49. Josh Curran, 49. Matt Lodge with a 50, sort of the forwards there to round out. Not a whole lot else here. Eli Katoa, benched sort of on game day. Move him on. Time to sell Eli Katoa. The experiment did not work. SJ getting injured after round 1 really killed his stocks. Had a great score with SJ and then he got benched. So, yeah, move on from Eli Katoa. That is my advice. The Seagulls, 25. Weird number to be on. Raiders, 6. Tommy Turbo, would he have 100 points before updates? And as a non-owner, very, very happy to see him downgraded to a measly 87 points. We say measly because obviously the heights that he hit last year, but dry track in Mudgee, if you still own Turbo, it's the best you've seen from him.
Yeah, look, I think if you still own Turbo, you're probably committed to holding him, haven't you? You've already copped that one big price drop. He's going to have another price drop. The draw is still good for the Sea Eagles on paper, kind of akin to what we saw last year in that they had a really, really bad start to the season when they didn't have Tom. Then they had this one like golden point victory, I want to say, over the Warriors. And from then on, they kicked their season off pretty well. Kind of seeing a similar thing happen this year. I think it was last week they had that golden point win, a decent win against the Raiders. So now maybe if you're still holding, say, the likes of a Cherry Evans, if you started with him, a Tom, I would maybe hold because they could potentially go on a nice little run. But again, also depends on the status of Turbo. Apparently he was seen in a knee brace post-game. So we know that he's battled injuries in the past. So yeah, definitely one to monitor. Look, if he's out, then you would definitely sell just at his price. But I think if he's still fit and firing, ready to go for next week, I'd probably be holding.
This scoreboard's giving me some like round 21, round 22 last year vibes. You got Turbo on top, Cherry Evans in second, Garrick in third. But instead of 200, 150, 140, it was 87, 80, 65, which is, I kind of think that is the new 180, 150, 140. Like, we've just seen from the first 4 rounds, like, it's just not what it was. And when Ruben Garrick's getting you 65, that's got to be taken as a win in my book.
Yeah, look, for sure. Like, you make a good callback there to what we were seeing last year. Those 3 were just absolutely on fire last year. And yeah, Turbo getting an 87, but based on what we saw last year, you're looking at like 150. Garrick probably like 150 as well. So having them, sub 100, look, it feels good. I'm still not sure if I'm going to be jumping on any of these guys because of what the other options we have. But definitely Manly with their draw coming up. Could be some nice pods there. Cooler. If you wanted to touch on Cooler,
just going to touch on Cooler.
He looks good.
Yeah, you were saying that you're not going to jump on any of these big guys just because of sort of the insecurity with their price and the fluctuation in scores. But Cooler, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 180k. I was tempted to bring him in this week, so I'd only used the one trade myself. I was tempted to bring him in, but the news that Brad Parker had COVID, not an injury, kind of scared me a little bit. Wasn't sure with the job security. But we'll go up in price after his next game, whenever that will be. If Turbo's out, we could see something like a Garrick at fullback, Cooler on the wing, or we could even see Cooler go straight back to fullback. Or like with a fantastic win, we could just see him hold his spot. It is awkward. I do have the depth in my centre wing to potentially bring him in for Sean Russell and then just have him sit there on the bench. I'm never a fan of nothing in round 4 coming into round 5, but if he holds his spot with Manly's draw, he obviously is talented, but can we trust Des Hasler? That's the issue.
Yeah, it is an awkward one for sure, because I think a lot of people were thinking coming into this week he would take Morgan Harper's spot because Harper hasn't been that good in the early weeks, but he had a pretty decent game himself. And coming in because of COVID, I wouldn't expect Parker to be dropped out of that starting team. I would expect him to come back in. So yeah, I think the downside risk is pretty low in the sense that he's 175k. So if you've got someone like Cobbo or Stags, and you're looking to free up some money,
What if you had
just
both?
do a
What if you had
downgrade
both,
to someone
mate?
like Cooler. You don't even have to look. You don't even have to get a sell Cooler in the future to get a price rise. You could just be a good downgrade option who might come in there. He could be a bit of an 80 nightmare though if he kind of stays around like that number 14 spot. But I think Dylan Walker also picked up a knock, but he probably will be okay from the reports that I've read. But yeah, I think if he plays this week, he'll be a popular buy. Look, I might do it myself. There is a bit of a risk there, but at 175k, it's not a bad downgrade option. So yeah, I think we've seen that he can perform. So if he does get a run, if you've just got him sitting there in your center wing, any injury comes up and he's thrown in that back line, you know that he's potentially a good plug and play option. So I think for those reasons, I don't mind him as a trade-in, even if there's some job security issues around him.
Hemo Olakawatu 2 weeks ago scored a 77, basically all in base. The internet was frothing over him. Plays last week in the torrential rain, plays about 50 minutes, scores nothing. Scores a try this week and scores 56. If you own Olakawatu, are you pumping the early sell, or you're holding firm with obviously this Manly draw opening up?
I'd probably hold firm. Look, 56 with a try is not great, but we know that he hasn't got the highest base. His base power numbers were good early seasons because he had a lot of tackle breaks. But I think the fact that he gets those tries is indicative of what he can do. So I would be holding. It's not a horrible score, but he's not looking like the massive cash riser or massive point scorer that we were thinking. But look, it's only been a couple of rounds. I think he's one of those guys who very easily next week can get like 80, 90 points. So I think you kind of have to ride the highs and lows with him for at least maybe 4 to 6 weeks before maybe I think about selling.
Yeah, I think he's just Viliami Kickout with a slightly better floor. So you just have to ride it out. Look, all preseason I was actually tossing up between 2 5/8, one of them being Jack White and another one being Dylan Brown. Look, if I went Whiten, I wouldn't be upset. Obviously, seeing the way Brown's gone, I would be. But just in Whiten's numbers, his sheer numbers, he's looked more influential in the side. And I thought he would have looked better with Fogarty and worried that when Fogarty was ruled out and Schneider came in, that the rookie half may have been a little bit unsettling. But Jack Whiten with a 70-point performance. I know a few out there own him. You've got to be happy with that from a guy that was, low 400Ks?
Yeah, look, I've never been a big fan of Jack Whiten from a Supercoach perspective, so I wasn't really kind of pumping him up, preseason, but he has started the season quite well, scored another try. He's kind of looking better in form. He had a bit of a down season, you would say, last year. So could be an interesting kind of pod option to consider. It's just, it's not for me because, I'm a Dylan Brown owner, and I've still got a decent cashy, hopefully, in Ilias. And then eventually I'm going to want the likes of, say, Cody Walker, Cam Munster. I just don't see Whiten unless he has a massive score that could be a bit of a stepping stone to one of those other guns. I always see him as someone I'm always going to actively look to sell. So for that reason, look, the score is good, 70, but I think there are better options, even though he has done well to begin the year.
Brad Schneider with a 38. Not awful for a 180k guy with a minus 70 break even. 38 points with, I don't think he had an involvement and only 1 goal. That's pretty decent if you own. And Tom Starling, the buy of the week, 33 points. Not great, but didn't really get a whole lot going. Let's just not talk about Tom Starling because he was not good for me. Next game, we had the Cowboys 4-28, the Roosters. Billy Smith being a late scratching and seeing Kevin Nguama score a lot of points made me upset. Good chat.
Sorry, you just cut out there for a second.
No, you're right. Fantastic audio content. I was just saying with the late scratching of Billy Smith, seeing Kevin Nguama score a lot of points was not great.
Yeah, that's true, but it also shows the value of that right wing spot for the Roosters. And the reports have come out that he's probably not going to be available next week, but he will become round 6. So that gives me hope that it wasn't like a dropping; it was due to injury. So hopefully he should come back into the team relatively soon. We know the Roosters draw is fantastic as well. So it's not ideal that he didn't play this week. And then had to play Cobbo, so obviously that didn't work out very well. But I'll probably be holding firm, I think, with Smith for now, just because it looks like he'll be back in round 6.
The shining light is if it does turn into form, if Kevin Nguama kills it next week and holds his spot, we don't lose any value because it's only the 2 games and we'll pick him up for the 3rd. So that, I guess, is the positive to take out of that. Moving on to sort of the top performers, though, Joey Manu, 118. Joey Manu is the best centre in the game, in my opinion. Supercoach-wise, he can be hot and cold, but when he's hot, he is awfully, awfully hot to be on, and 118 points. Everything was going through him. He looked incredibly silky and very good.
Yeah, Manu is incredible. I'm a Roosters fan for anyone who is in the chat and is not aware of that. So I was very happy to see us kind of turn it around up in North Queensland. And yeah, Joey Manu is just an unreal centre, to copy the NRL's new marketing slogan.
Unreal.
But yeah, 118 points. He looked unreal, that's for sure. And he looked good again last week. Scored 75, 118 this week. So you definitely can consider him with a nice draw coming up. But you can say that about a lot of the Roosters players. You've got Tupou there, sitting pretty in your side, 80 points casually, 1 try, good base. Looks a great buy that you can also plug into your centre wing. So there's a lot of options that we can consider from the Chooks.
Yeah, I am very smug, very happy about Joey Manu. About Daniel Tupou, just some late junk 2 weeks in a row. He is fantastic. 80 points for him, as you said. He's just a guy that will get you 40 points without a try, which is ideal. James Tedesco, 87 points, punishing people that sold him to Hines. I was never really a fan of that move. I saw it floated around on the socials for basically all week. If you were going to get Hines in, I felt you had to do it another way, not Teddy. And yeah, 87 points for him. Victor Radley obviously went on Twitter last week and saw the slander where people were putting him third as the third best lock in the comp behind Isaiah Yeo and Cam Murray, and he decided to turn it on with a 94-point performance as well. God, I wish he still had the hooker eligibility because it would make him so much more attractive, but only the 2RF. Scrolling down, I guess, fantasy relevant Supercoach relevant guys. Luke Keary with a 49, Sam Walker with a 41. These guys just look like they're going to be sharing points all year, which is not ideal if you're an owner of Walker, not ideal if you're an owner of Keary. I'm an owner of Walker. I don't know. It's a case of if I go Cleary or if I go Haas. Otherwise, do I just double down and ride it out and hopefully it comes good? Because he does look good, 10 meters out when he jinks and sort of jives and gets a little sniff through, but he's just not similar. He plays very similar to Dylan Brown, but just not big enough to break the line as to what Dylan Brown is. He's relying more on speed. So I'm not doing too badly in Supercoach, so I might hold firm. Might double down on my stance of this Roosters draw and go from there, but he is definitely on the chopping block, probably the most out of them. But what is your take on this whole Keary-Walker situation? Walker lost the goal-kicking duties at sort of the back end of the game. We know he's not a fantastic kicker off the tee. Is it big Takiaho time?
Yeah, I was messaging you saying, Roosters, I think this goal kicking is going to be an issue for the Chooks come end of season because the best teams have got pinpoint goal kickers, and those points are valuable in tie games.
What do you mean, mate?
So
you've got James Tedesco there. He's a gun kicker.
As long as they can move the goalposts when he takes them, and they can move it, 20 meters to the left as he's shooting. That was an awful. We'll talk about another goal kicking fullback in a little bit though. I've got a bit more faith in his goal kicking than say a certain Tedesco. But yeah, I think it was a weird one. I don't know why they took it off Walker. They clearly wanted him to be the primary one. They've got Momorowski, who could be an option. Maybe Takiaho. Takiaho's not a bad goal kicker. Maybe they just need to find a 17 where they get Adam Kieran in there because he's a gun goal kicker. But that's his main value for the Roosters is the goal kicking. So yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll see with Takiaho, but only 23 points from him. In terms of what you said earlier about the whole Sam Walker, Luke Keary thing. So I kind of spoke about it last week where I had more faith holding the likes of a Tedesco. I was definitely not on board with selling Teddy for Hines because I think with the Roosters, if they're going to score points, Teddy is the main man. He's going to be there both sides of the field, setting up the tries, linking up play. He does those jinking runs, breaks tackles. He's going to be safe for points. With the likes of Keary and Walker, they definitely are sharing the responsibilities. Keary a little bit more so than Sam Walker, but they're sharing a lot. So I think basically their points are halved. You see Keary with 49 and Walker with 41. You'd say maybe last season, if it was just Teddy and Sam Walker might be getting 80 points because he might just have an extra couple of try assists, something like that. So I did sell Sam Walker for Nico Hines this week. I think it probably was the better move to do it last week. Now, even though the draw is coming up is good, halfback, you want Hines, you want Cleary. It's hard to maybe think about holding on to Walker. Obviously, the Broncos coming up is good, so it's not awful. It'll be interesting to see what his break-even is as well. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they do share a lot of the points. Neither has good base as well, so they can throw up these low scores if they don't get those big attacky stats, which is not ideal. Like they won't get like Teddy's, volume of tackle breaks and things like that to just give him a higher floor. So yeah, it's not the best looking for those Roosters halves. But shout out to the Cowboys halfback and Chad Townsend, 0 points in 80 minutes as well.
Fantastic. Absolutely world class. That's Jason Saab levels of involvement there from Chad Townsend. Look, I was aware of the Sam Walker low base, but I was happy to ride with that because he had the floor with the goal kicking. But if he's not goal kicking, I can't put up with the 10, 15 point scores that he will get when he doesn't kick. But against the Broncos next week, I think it's too tempting to not hold. But then again, we'll have to see. For the Roosters though, Angus Crichton, 38 points off the bench. I'm going to buy him for about 500k in about a month's time, which is lovely. And yeah, no one else really to talk about from the Chookies. From the Cowboys, Tommy Dearden with a 62, Murray Tuolungi with a 62. Hey, if you told me Tom Dearden would be leading the league in try assist after a month, I'd call you a liar. So he's playing some good footy. And Jason Tamalolo with a 57. Another one of these guys that I'm like, but he's not doing anything to warrant being sold. He's just not Tamalolo of 2 years ago, which is unfortunate. But, 57 points, the top scoring forward in this game, apart from Victor Radley. He was the second top scoring forward in this game, apart from Victor Radley. So, fine. If Ruben Cotter is going to be playing more minutes at 13, it looks like Tamalolo's rotating through prop, which is fine. If he scores me 57 points every week, I can't be too upset. But I am looking at Ruben Cotter, as I said before, 56 points in about 53 minutes. Available at 2RF, available at hooker. If he can start getting a few more minutes, then I'm all over him at, 360k or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I think that hooker 2RF eligibility is really nice as well. It's very handy having that. He played about, 56 minutes this game. The tagging upside is not going to quite be there, but look at that price. If he's punching at mid 50s, you could be doing well there. So if you've got one of these mid ranges, like say like a Ewan Aiken, I think he scored very similar. Tamalolo as well. He's kind of just getting about a point per minute. Not that I'd necessarily say that they're a sell, but maybe if you're looking to free up like 100 something K, maybe you can go down to Cotter. But yeah, it's a mince watch, I think, for him.
Yeah, I probably give it another. I don't know if I can give it another week. I'm either going to have to go this next week or not at all, because he had an 18 break even. He's priced at 380k, so he'll be up over 400k next week. So it's a case of whether we go this week early, because if I go for feeder to Cotter, that's going to give me enough cash to go for feeder, and then maybe like a Andrew for feeder to a better starting front row forward. All moves that we'll have to contend with. I've been pretty good on trades. I've only made 4 trades all year, so sitting nicely with those. So I do have the luxury to move some trades around if I need to. Reece Robson, 53, and then Val Holmes just drops off to him with a 36. So not a whole lot to touch on. We will touch on the Jeremiah Nanai roller coaster. Obviously, the kid is extremely green, extremely raw. I said this on Twitter last week. Like, he's going to score you 100. He's going to score you 30. He is extremely young, extremely green. So you've got to persist with this. But I probably will look to sell once this 100 rolls out of his rolling average. I will ride that for another week, and then potentially move him on if we decide to go Cleary in round 7 when that 36 drops out of his rolling average. So bit of future planning. I'm just trying to line up break evens with guns, and then I could be the one that we move on to for even someone like a Brody Jones if he comes back out firing next week.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the right way to play it. He's got that big 100, so yeah, try to get some price out of him. Maybe even potentially even downgrade to someone like a Cotter if you wanted. Although depending on the week, so the timing might not quite be there. But yeah, Brody Jones could be a candidate via deals. If you went from Nanai to Taylor May, for example, there's things that you can do. I think at that 2RF position to downgrade him. Otherwise, look, he's fine to hold as well. But if you're looking at him purely for cash gen, then yeah, you kind of have to wait for that 100 to roll out and then from there cash in.
Yeah, I think it's definitely dependent on what he scores next week. Because he had a -6 break even this week and scored 30. So I'd expect his break even next week maybe about 35. And then if he scores a 45 or 50, you would expect the break even the week after to be huge. And that's probably when I would cash out at say 450k, which would be a nice little 110k profit, which is handy, and then we'll move him on for someone a little bit better. Also, breaking news: the NRL Integrity Unit is investigating some footage between Payne Haas and Albert Kelly. Some people are saying it's old footage, but the less we will speculate that on, the better. I'm sure you guys have all seen the footage getting around. Moving into Sunday, mate. This Sunday, this is going to go down in all-time infamy because this saved my week. Melbourne Storm 44-0 Bulldogs. Ryan Papenhuyzen pre-updates with 189 points. And as you can see, he has the orange tag on my screen. Has the orange tag on your screen, Tillman. Nope. Nico Hines got that treatment last week, and Ryan Papenhuyzen gets it this week. Seems to be a bit of a trend. Melbourne fullbacks performing well in Supercoach. You wouldn't read about it, but yeah, 189 points. Would you have 4 tries, a try assist, 400,000 line breaks, and kicking goals left, right, and centre? Oh, what a week to get the captaincy on him.
Yeah, absolutely saved my week. So if any of you are new to me on my channel, well, it's a trend that's lasted a week so far. I have dabbled with poems and rhymes with some of our favorite Supercoach options. I thought Ryan Papenhuyzen as my captain, 189 points. I thought he deserved one as well. So if you'll let me have the floor, Whisperer, this is a tribute to Mr. Ryan Papenhuyzen. I was looking forward to Sunday night. My Supercoach score, though, was looking like shite. All my hopes were on little Papenhuyzen, and he finally helped me crack the big 1,000. He absolutely smashed all expectations, made me forget all my frustrations. That little legend scored his points so fast, I had to talk about it on the Dual Position podcast.
Oh, take a bow, mate. Take a bow. Oh, what a poet. What an absolute machine. Great words from you, mate. And just a great performance from Papenhuyzen. He was just on fire. And with Melbourne's draw,
what a legend.
It's going to be hard for me to take the captaincy off him moving forward. Hey, we get into the very, very good 189 from Papenhuyzen. I'm having to scroll down a bit to find old Cam Munster. He the opposite of a flat track bully. Lock Cam Munster in for your captain if he's playing a top 4 side. And anyone else, stay far away from him. And I also think it's no coincidence that he shaved his head and it all fell apart.
You called it. You said he shaved his head, guys, so sell him.
I did.
Yeah, it's a strange one, you know. Maybe should have kept that mullet. You know, maybe took some mullet inspiration from Papenhuyzen and got, you know, maybe would have turned up that way. So yeah, not a great look from that Munster. Not doing well there.
Yeah, some fantastic big statistical dives in there from me on my Twitter. I spent hours and hours and hours researching all these brilliant stats. No, in all seriousness, Cameron Munster with a shaved head is a no-go. He was looking lethal in the preseason, looking brilliant first 3 rounds, and then shaved his head and just fell apart with a 35. I've never seen so many people tell me that they took the captaincy off Papenhuyzen last. Or I've never seen so many people tell me that they took the captaincy off someone so last minute, and then a lot of people moved it on to Munster. So that's a what is it, 150 point swing right there. Like it just takes you from a 1,300 to a 1,150 with the click of a button, and it just shows you how volatile Supercoach can be.
That is brutal. I saw quite a lot of that on my Twitter as well. People saying they switched last minute from Munster to Papenhuyzen. Like, I did suggest Munster as a captain, but in my opinion, it was always Papenhuyzen. Just like, even if he's not involved in, say, some like tries and things, with that goal kicking, it just adds like 20 points to his score. Even if, you know, the Storm absolutely blow out an opposition. And look, he's looking back to what we saw at the beginning of last season, which is really nice to see after he had such a horror run with those HIAs. I really like the combination that he's forming with Xavier Coates, you know, number 2 on the Storm scorers there. It seems like they've got this play where he does that kind of cutout ball to Coates on the wing. Coates has got that speed that he can break down the wing. Papenhuyzen will cut back in on his left-hand side. Coates will throw back, and they just kind of get that easy try. I really like that combination. So I wasn't very high on Coates, but I'm starting to turn my tune on that. He's looking really good as well. But yeah, the swing is brutal though. Between Munster and Papenhuyzen. But yeah, look, I'm a very happy captain, Papenhuyzen, and owner. Look, if you don't own, or if you didn't captain, these kind of things will come every once in a while. You know, every few weeks where you'll get the rub of the green. It's just like we've all been there. We've all had bad captaincies. We've had good ones. So wouldn't be too hard on that. I see a few people saying that they're going to quit Supercoach and things like that. Look, don't do that, because next week you could be captaining the guy who gets 150, 160, and you're laughing. So look, very happy that we got the rub of the green this week. But yeah, if you're down about it, don't worry too much about it. It's a game. We all enjoy it. We all make fun of each other. But yeah, look, overall, I have to give a hand to Papenhuyzen, and hopefully that poem showed my tribute to the great man.
The chat is blowing up. Is that Kendrick Lamar? This Shakespeare? Bro spitting some bars. Ryman Papenhuyzen with 1,000. How'd they not see that coming, mate? That was spectacular. As for Xavier Coates, though, the amount of rubbish, I put him in preseason, and somehow managed to beat him aside round one. I'm going to look right down the barrel of the camera right now. Xavier Coates and all Melbourne Storm fans, I sincerely apologise for slandering the great man's name. I played him for an 85, fantastic. Kenny Bromwich with an 82. He just has these games where he'll just score well, and then don't expect him to score like 20 points next week. He does this. Harry Grant 71. Is that a good game, or is that just a game for Harry Grant?
Sorry, audio just cut out there. Did you want to
you got some quality internet, mate. I was saying a 71 for Harry Grant. Is that a good game, or is that just a game for Harry Grant?
I'd say it's just a game. Look, he did have a couple of try assists, but it didn't look like he did anything crazy or out of the ordinary. So, yeah, I'd just say that's just a normal game from Harry Grant. Didn't have the base that he normally gets because the Bulldogs, the Storm was so dominant in this one. But yeah, look, 71. Yeah, happily we'll take that from Grant. That's without a try. Shows his creativity. We know how good he is in that role. So yeah, Grant, easy as. I'm very happy I traded him in this week for Reid Marnie. Yeah, my opinion, still the best hooker to get in the game.
54 points from Josh King with some janky attacking stats. Not happy about that as a non-owner. But 54 points with a try. Not panic if you own, obviously, but if you don't own, I wouldn't be rushing out to buy him.
Yeah, look, I'm happy. Look, I am a Josh King owner. I was very happy, especially when Harry Grant did set him up for his try as well. Benefited both ways there. The minutes were a lot down this week, actually, 49 minutes when he's been playing 60 plus. So it is a bit of a slight pause for concern. It could be the return of Brandon Smith that did impact in terms of the minutes there. So it does give me some pause for thought about, whether you still think Josh King's a buy. I think this week he was still a buy just because he had such a low break even. Now that we've seen the minutes go down with Brandon Smith returning, gives me some concern as to whether he can keep that up. And, 49 points, take away the try. What are we looking at there? That's about, 30 something points. So not great in 49 minutes. Yeah. So it looks like that might be potentially end of the road with King, but I think he's shown good faith by Bellamy. So still fine to hold for now. But yeah, I'm not sure if he's screaming an outright buy at the moment.
All right. Call me crazy, but we antipod Haas again. And TPJ played 80 minutes, scored 64 points in a side that scored 0 against the Storm. That is impressive. He's available at dual. Front row forward 5'8", that'd be handy. Front row forward 2RF. Can we get around TPJ, or is this just one of the streaky games that he goes on?
No, we can definitely get around TPJ. I think he just showed us what he can do in terms of a Supercoach. You can play big minutes, and I see his stats there. He's got 14 points in ineffective offloads. So apparently the game didn't think any of his offloads were effective. But yeah, look, 19 tackles, 14 points in offloads, a few runs in there. Just kind of, it's the offloads really is what you get from TPJ, the tackle breaking ability as well. I like the fact that he is available at front row forward. I think he was in one of my early preseason teams as well. I think we just need to see a little bit more, see if he can keep up the big minutes, keep his act together in terms of not going to the judiciary and things like that as well. So I wouldn't be jumping on him, but look, he's always an option. Just need to kind of hope that he can clean up the act and doesn't get into any naughty stuff on the field and into the in suspended territory.
Yeah, he should be about 550-ish K next week, which is tempting enough to jump on. The draw for the next 6 weeks or so is brutal, but he doesn't play. Touch wood, he won't play Origin. That duel is handy, but yeah, it's the offloads. I tell this story a lot, but there was a game for the Broncos last year where I think he scored 89 points and he had 25, 26 points in like actual base, and the rest of it was just like offloads. He had like 60 points in offloads, so that's what you're getting with Pengai if he's playing 80 minutes on the edge. I might have to have a sneaky look at him. Max King, 37 points. Bit of a worrying tweet from Gus Gould earlier in the week about him not potentially being 100% fit, or the Bulldogs wouldn't play him if he wasn't 100% fit. He is my front row forward number 2, so this is a problem in my side that I'm going to have to address. For all the fantastic high floor players I've got, my front row 40 is weak. I think we combined it for 100 points between 3 players, so not ideal. Forwards, I've just gone very light in, like a hooker and front row forward, I've gone very light in, so that's something I'm going to have to address for that as well. Apart from that, no really relevant Bulldogs that I want to touch on. I am looking at Matt Burton as like an Uber pod round 10 when the Bulldogs draw opens up, and he should be at like a really good price because the Bulldogs draw does get better come round 10. But apart from that, man, I'm not really looking at any other Bulldogs players, and yeah, they got spanked 44-zip in Amy Park, and Ryan Papenhuyzen was the man. The Eels 48, the Dragons 14. Tried to one-up them, didn't quite get there. Mitch Moses, 146 points. Shout out to the bloke in the chat that said he traded out Moses for Hines this week. Unlucky. But yeah, he was just on fire. Like, he was just good from like the first minute to the last minute. He had the ball on a string off the tee in general field. Like, he was in everything. Bryce Cartwright flicked him the ball for like one of the best tries I've seen this year. He was the man.
Yeah, look, very, very impressive win by the Eels in this one. They looked super good as well. I think their completion rate was like insanely high. It was above 90%. Just completely dominant over the Dragons there. And yeah, shout out to Sean trading out Moses for Hines. Look, on paper, that was a good move. That is just really unlucky how well Moses did this week. You wouldn't have predicted 146 for Moses though. But look, Dillbags, 124 points.
Sorry, hang on.
Well.
Doesn't quite get the full play out like Papenhuyzen did, but Love Island's very own Dylan Brown. You and I are both owners. How good?
Nah, Dylan Brown is finally repaying the faith. I started with him last year, and he had 2 attacking stats all season. I held him for too long, and he gave me too little. But look, he's been delivering so far this season. I've got another poem for Dylan Brown, if you will let me, because I feel especially close with Dylan Brown because I've taken the punt on him again this season, and he's finally coming up trumps. So I thought, look, it's 124 points. It's not like we can't give all the shine to Papenhuyzen, right? So if you guys are enjoying the poem, well, look, there'll be another one for Dylan Brown. So shout out. This one is for Dylan Brown. Last season, he was just making me frown, but he's been tearing up so far in 2022. He's all about that base, but he's getting attacking stats too. Keep it up, legend, and you'll stay in my team. The number 6 from Para, he's been a dream.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, how about
Did I just break the whisper?
you're on fire today, mate. On fire. But hey, when your side finally cracks the 1300 mark, mate, you're all the more welcome to be. The 6 and 7 for Parramatta today.
Celebration tonight.
It does. The 6 and 7 for Para, like, just unreal for them. Like, combining for what, nearly 300 points. Like, it's just ridiculous. Wanga Blake on that left wing. It just goes to show you, put me there and I'll average 70 points a game. I was actually looking at him as a bit of a pod play last week, but did jump on with the news that this was like when Asako was like rumored to be signed there last week, and then he like obviously went to the Titans. I was actually looking at bringing Blake in, but yeah, Nathan Brown bagged the try from 85. IPAP, he's another one that I'm looking at, but probably a little bit pricey. Like, it'd be between IPAP. If I wasn't going Haas, it'd be between IPAP and TPJ, but like that price is just a tad too much, but he does have the attacking upside. Like, it's just with the Eels draw, like he could crash over for a double and score 130 points.
No, definitely. Look, IPAP is always an option. He is very expensive, and playing on the right side, it's not as good as playing on the left as he was last year, because we know the Parrot, they love to go down their left-hand side. So that's kind of the only knock on him, I think. Look, 72 is great. No attacking stats in there. We know he can go big. But I think at the price, I think the priorities are probably to spend that money in like going for your halves, going for your grants and things like that. So I don't think he's quite up to that must-have level at the moment. He's definitely going to be a consideration. I think someone in the chat mentioned earlier about around Origin, he won't play. So yeah, definitely a good pickup then. You'd expect him to be playing decent minutes around that time as well. But yeah, look, always a good option. Wanga Blake as well. I know you were keen on him. Just shows the value of that left wing spot for the Eels, right? That spot is just gold. Anyone who plays there is going to get attacking stats. They love to target that side. So yeah, he's a good option. Nathan Brown, I think, scored a try in this game, didn't he?
He did, yeah. It wasn't in base, unfortunately.
Saying, Yeah, I heard Vossi on the coverage saying that he has scored about like one try a season for the last like 6 seasons. So I wouldn't be expecting a touchdown of Brown anytime soon. But look,
To be
yeah,
fair though,
sorry,
to be
no, I've gone on a tangent from iPad, but yeah.
to be fair to Brown, it was a try without a line break, so that takes him down to what 68 points. Which that's good for Nathan Brown. So that's handy to monitor. But on IPAP though, like he had to break even this week of 60, so he's going to be closer to what 690k next week. And if I can get like 10 points less in TPJ for what 140k cheaper, then I'd much rather do that, or then just spend the money and go Haas. But the duel is enticing. Like Haas doesn't have that duel. He will play Origin. IPAP does have the duel, won't play Origin. So you can understand it does have the attacking upside as well. But the presence of Maddo kind of worries me a little bit, but definitely one to monitor. For the Eels, also Will Penasini with a 66. My Twitter curse continues. We posted, can he do something, please? Because he's been useless. And then 5 minutes later, obviously, busts through and gets the try assist, which is handy. Shout out to Reed Marnie, who I've held all year, has done nothing and gets a 60-point affair after I sell him. Awesome. Gutho with a 60 as well, rounds out sort of the top scorers for them. Junior Paulo has been a massive flop. I know he was cheap, but like there was hope for a bounce back year, and it just hasn't materialized. Makahisi Makatoa is taking some minutes. RCG is just sort of doing what RCG does, and yeah, like it's just not happened for Paulo.
Only 38 minutes tonight, so just really being like Campbell Gillard played 44, but looks much more impactful in those 44 minutes compared to Paulo's 38. I think they've just got such a stacked forward pack that they can afford to give the likes of Paulo not as big minutes and just have him more as an impact player. And without him offloading it's just not an option. So look, I wouldn't be considering any of Paulo or Campbell Gillard. A question for you though, like if you were trading out say for feeder and you had to go IPAP or Murray, who would you go out of those two?
That's hard. That's tough because on the surface you say Murray, yeah, but no Origin, duel. That's the thing. Like that's the thing that gets me. And I don't know, Parramatta just look different this year. I know they do this every year. They start hot, whatever, but like they just look good. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe IPAP. That sounds silly to say, but I think just for the fact that he is dual and doesn't play Origin. But Cam Murray will never play middle, which is a worry, and IPAP probably will. So I don't know. But then again, does IPAP play middle with the emergence of Makahisi Makatoa? Like, has that filled that middle role? So maybe we do take a close look at IPAP. Right now, I'm probably leaning towards TPJ just because he is 150k cheaper or whatever, but you've got more stability in IPAP. For the Dragons, Ben Hunt with an 80, Tarek Sims with a 68, Jack Bird with a 58, and Zach Lomax with some nice force dropout junk very late in the game to bump him up to a 54. He's someone I'm seriously looking at. But the problem is the Dragons draw never really gets good. I've said this last week as well. It's like 2 good games, 2 bad games, 2 good games, 1 bad game, a good game, 2 bad games. It's just it never really gets consistent for them. But he has shown that he can score against sort of better sides, which is handy.
Yeah, it's only from about round 10 where they have a nice consistent run of good games because it's very up and down. As you mentioned, they've got Rabbitohs, Knights, then it's the Roosters, Tigers, Storm. But then after that, from round 10, it's Titans, Warriors, Bulldogs, Cowboys, etc. So that's probably a good time to get him maybe closer to that State of Origin period as well. But especially, they're looking a little bit inconsistent. They dropped Terrell Sloan. Amon was on the bench, I think. Was he not dropped altogether? So there is still a bit of indecisiveness around their squad overall. So Lomax, I'm always keen on because he's a very solid option for Supercoach with the goal kicking. But yeah, overall, I wouldn't be investing too many Dragons players, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, Lomax would be the only one. Normally, mate, we do full credit to the boys sin bin send-offs and whatever, but we've gone for an hour and 10 minutes tonight, so I reckon we might scrap that and we might do a double dose next week if we can get you on. But that's going to sort of take us up with all the games this week. Just to round up, you scored 1,301, I scored 1,355. Both of us did pretty good. That's going to, I guess, round out us for the audio platform. As always, myself and my guests, we stay back sort of 10 minutes after the live stream, or after the audio has cut out, and we'll answer some questions on YouTube. As always, make sure you head over to the YouTube if you do want to get involved in that. We are live at about 8:15 on Sunday and 7 o'clock on Tuesdays. Still trying to get a consistent Tuesday guest. Aman is not reliable on Tuesdays because he has a big boy job and works big boy hours. But I do have someone in mind, someone that you guys have been asking for. So if we can get him on, that'd be fantastic. Mate, where can everyone find you listening to the podcast?
Yep, so I'm also on YouTube at Aman Talks NRL Supercoach, on Twitter at Aman Talks NRL SC. Those are my two main platforms.
All right. As I said, that's going to round up the round 4 recap for Supercoach in the podcast platform. Aman and I will be hanging around for you YouTube guys to answer some questions for the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But as always, I've been the SC Whisperer, joined by Aman on this wonderful Sunday night. Hopefully you did good this week. Hopefully Captain PAPENHUYZEN. And we'll be back on Tuesday, go over our trade thoughts and whatever. But Aman, I very much appreciate you jumping on this week, mate.
No worries. No, thank you. Good to be on, and good to be on when I have a good week as well.
Definitely. All right, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bye. All right. We're just with the YouTube crowd now, man. Just with the devoted live stream viewers. You got the chat up next to you as well, don't you?
Yep, I've got the chat up.
Lovely. Let's answer some questions. What do we reckon about 1,161 with Hines as captain? So what we could have, if we captain Pap, that would have taken us another 150 points. So would have taken us up to 13. I think that's fine. 13,
Yeah, I think that's fine.
That's fine. Hey fellas, I was forced to play Amon for his 0. Will he get AE? Did he get on the field? If he doesn't get on the field, it doesn't count. I can't remember if he actually did get on though. Let me check the minutes, because that's the rule. If you don't come on, it doesn't clarify. And when I did the roundup for the scores, his score wasn't on there, so I'm assuming he did not take the field.
He played 14 minutes, so he probably will play out.
Grim. Hang on, let me find round 8. Okay, mate, where was he? Telltale Moan. Was he just like not on the scorecard? They mustn't have scored him. He might get, so you're going to get stuck with him as the AA, which is unfortunate for you.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It does say, like, they've recorded, like, on NRL.com, like, 5 passes, so he's done something.
Hey, mate, hey, Bruce, someone said you look like a man. You have a bit of a makeover. They reckon you look like a man.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, I saw someone in the chat. I saw someone in the chat post. They're selling. What was it? They're selling Hines for PAPENHUYZEN. If that's not the most overreactionary move I've ever seen, then I don't know what is.
No, don't do that. Don't be selling Hines for PAPENHUYZEN. It's just been 1 week. Hines has shown us in the first 3 weeks how good he is as well. Get both. Don't be selling Hines for PAPENHUYZEN.
And then we also said don't sell Teddy, so you just got to have them all, mate. You just got to have everyone.
Just get Hines in a halfback if you can. Run Teddy and Paps.
Just get Hines, get Cleary, get Alex Johnston, get Ruben Garrett,
just get
Turbo.
Players. This game's easy, right?
I was choosing between Munster and who's this? Munster and Pap, and then went Munster. Oh, brutal.
That's rough, man.
That is just the swings of Supercoach. Had Moses Dillon Brown, Pappy captain, got 1470. Far out.
Done.
The biggest I've seen is 1540, but like anything over 1400 is massive. Like that's just a huge score. What are our thoughts on Hughes to Moses? What is it?
What did Hughes even score?
Like 65? I think he was fine.
61 he scored. It's no 146.
It's not. But Hughes definitely captain PAPENHUYZEN this week.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He would have got there.
I'm a big Jerome Hughes fan.
He would have slid over too.
I'm a big Jerome Hughes fan.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Scott. I saw your comment because I've got the chat on the side here. I don't really address the chat when we're doing the live streams because it doesn't make sense for the audio listeners. But I saw your comment before. You said McInnes is an option to buy in a few weeks, but I can't see him starting in the next over the next 2 props. And Dale, you would expect Dale to move to prop with Toby, and who's the other side? Hamlin Ueli. You'd expect him to come off the bench and probably Fafita, drops out or something like that. But I don't know. McInnes will start 13. There's not a chance in the world that he stays off. He comes off the bench for the season.
Yep. No, that sounds.
I just wanted to get your thoughts. Like, I don't see a world where it's not Finucane, Rudolph up front with McInnes at 13.
Yeah. No, eventually I think McInnes will become the starting lock and he'll play big minutes. And at that time, he'll be a great option. Plug in to our second forward, like fourth to RF.
Nakora must be driving you wild. Yeah. Tell me about it. It's just so annoying. But it did enable us to get in Hines, so I can't be too upset. And I captained Hines last week, so that's fine. Should we be worried about Munster? Is it worth jumping to Dylan Brown? It wasn't a week ago that Munster scored 130. Like, I feel like this is such a rate. I call this podcast Rage Trade Sundays because we all do this, but like that is a rage trade, I feel.
Yeah, I don't think. Look, Dylan Brown's been killing it, but look, if you've got Munster, you stick solid with Munster.
Is there a world where Teddy to Latrell makes sense? Yes, because I'm actually considering that in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Latrell is definitely always in consideration, just given how good the draw is. But it's just that fullback position again. I feel like you can maybe tap into the Rabbitohs with the likes of Cody Walker, Cam Murray. Because I think if you look at it, I think Teddy is the best Roosters player to go for.
But one of them has to be sold.
The best Rabbitohs player.
Because then again, what do you think? I'm a Queensland fan, so I really don't care. But what do you think the New South Wales side looks like? Because I have it as Turbo Trell centres, Teddy fullback, Hines at 14, and then maybe Pap at 18th man, and that rules them all out for Supercoach. There's like your 5 top options gone for Supercoach, and like one of them has to be sold. Like you've got to play at least a fullback over Origin, so it's not ideal.
Yeah, then you're probably looking. I think your assessment of those spots is correct, and I think even PapenhuYzen could be even 14th by the look of it.
I think Hines and PapenhuYzen are in the squad, and that would rule them out. And it just kills your super. Like one of them has to be sold, and the question is who do we go to? I know Brew went to Matt Duffy last year. Brew went to Matt Duffy over Origin last year. Gutho, yes. Reece Walsh, maybe. I haven't looked at the Warriors draw over Origin. But you're gonna have to trade one out and keep the cash to get them back in. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, just looking around that Origin period. So Eels don't play round 13, which doesn't help, but they do have the Raiders and the Dogs, so they do have a couple of decent games around that period. So potentially it could be.
Alex Johnston
consideration for a Gutho,
maybe.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll have to think about. If you're thinking about a Teddy to Latrell in a few weeks, I would again just see how Teddy's looking.
I know that people are going to say
my initial thought is probably not.
People are going to say we're thinking too much into this, but you have to. You've got to set up for some kind of run. Like you and I are both avid FPL players, and you and I plan 10, 12 weeks in advance. You have, and obviously things change, but you have to. Otherwise you're just stuck. Someone just said Dylan Edwards over Origin. That could be handy.
Yeah.
Sean O'Sullivan looks very capable to fill in.
They do play the Bulldogs in round 13. Could be a shout, actually.
It depends on Luai as well, I guess. I don't know if I want Edwards if Luai and Cleary are out. I don't really see Freddie changing the 6 and 7 that won last year, so that maybe deters me. But yeah. What are some other questions? This is my only second year of playing. When you start taking Origin into consideration for buy rounds, do you still aim for about 1,000 points? Last year was not a good indication for me because I was playing catch up from sort of round 6. I don't know. Normally about 13 players a month, 13, 14 players is sort of what I aim for over Origin.
Really, I haven't thought about Origin at all really this year so far. And I'm thinking if you are starting to think about that yourself, if you're in a 50-50 between 2 players, you can always think about who's the guy who might play the first buy and kind of make that decision. But I wouldn't be too caught up in it. In terms of the number of players, we always say it's quality over quantity. You just want to make sure you've got the big options in those weeks, not necessarily just filling it with volume, because it definitely hampered me last season trying to plan too much for the buy rounds.
Cody Ramsey.
Then you just kind of keep your team in the rounds coming up to it.
That's where the Cody Ramsey
yeah.
meme came from. That was just me chasing points, and he got the start at fullback, and that's why I picked him up. Couple of quick fire questions. Who's the best cheaper second row forward to downgrade Eli Katoa to? I know it wasn't ideal this week, but I would say Brodie Jones. I think he gets better with more match fitness.
Yeah, probably Brodie Jones is one who comes to mind instantly.
Talakai,
maybe Alec McDonald from the Storm.
Is Talakai worth a trade option if he starts at centre? Yes, but he's a kind of a crap price. I'd much rather him in the back row. But yeah, that left side looks really, really good. Another quick fire one. What do we do with Anari Tuwala and Cobbo? Well, my first question is, why is Nari Tuala being brought up in a classic podcast? That confuses me. Cobbo, Aman, I think you're on the fence, aren't you? And this leads into the next question. What are our early trades? So, Nari Tuala, sell, and Cobbo. Now, I think that it's a very politician and cop-out answer, but it's got to depend on your makeup of your side. Like, if you got Dave Fafita, I would much rather trade out Fafita over Cobbo. But if you're sitting pretty smooth and he's like the only blemish on your side, then yeah, he's a trade out. But for me, it comes down to team makeup. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Cobbo is that he's what, 308k. He had a break even of 56, so he's going to drop sub 300k. So even if you are downgrading, you're not going to get that much money out of him. But I think he's a sell if he's constantly a play in your 17, 100% be selling because you can't really have or trust his scores. If you've got enough depth in your center wing to cover up, you can argue as a hold. But in terms of a downgrade, look, Taylor May is going to be the most obvious answer to downgrade to. Maybe a cooler from Manly. Via duels, you can maybe even flip into like a Brodie Jones or something like that as well. There's a few options. But look, Taylor May is standing out 100%. In terms of early trade thoughts, just kind of piggybacking off of that. So I've got Stags and Cobbo. So Stags is 100% going.
Sorry, just to give people an idea on you that haven't watched your channel. How many trade boosts down are you, and how many trades in deep are you? So for me, I'm one trade boost. I'm one trade boost down and 4 trades in. So I used 3 trades last week, and 1 trade this week.
So I've used 1 trade boost, and I've used 2 in the week prior. 2 in each week before that. So I've actually used all my trades.
So 7.
Sorry, I've used 4. I've used 7 trades. 7 trades. That's it. I've got 35.
So you really don't. I've traded quite hard. You really don't want to use another prize boost.
No, I don't think so because look, I had a couple of mistakes in my team to begin the year, so I really needed to kind of help fix it up. So I'm not looking to do a trade boost again, which is why I'm thinking someone like Fafita probably just going to stick around in my team. So yeah, in terms of my thoughts, I've got Stags, and look, he's not obviously delivering. So Stags for someone like Taylor May is looking very easy decision-wise for me. And then Cobbo, it could be a case of maybe switching by duels to Brodie Jones or maybe down to like a cooler from Manly. But look, I think those two are probably going to be the most likely guys to trade out of my team. I'm just looking at it now. I don't really see any other major red flags. Those two are the ones who are standing out to me. So they'll probably likely be those two.
Is Campbell Graham a must-have with the South draw opening up? I don't really like using the term must-have, but boy, howdy, I'm finding it hard not to try and find the money for an upgrade from Sean Russell.
Yeah, Campbell Graham's looking really good. He's got a really good floor. Rabbitohs nice draw coming up. It's just the thing, he doesn't play on the left-hand side. It always bugs me about.
Imagine if he was on the left.
The left is where you want. Well, that's why I think he had a really good run at the back end of not last year, but the year before. I think it was when he switched to the left. So look, I think he's been delivering without playing on the left. So it still could be a valid consideration. But yeah, look, I like the fact that he's cheaper than AJ as well. But look, must have no, but very good option, yeah, for sure.
Boys, I've got to get May in and Grant in this week. Would you use a boost to get rid of Sam Walker this week, or ride another week? I'm getting in Cody, by the way. Okay, a lot to unpack there. Do we think Grant is an absolute must? Like, let me look at his break even, because what he scored 90 and then a 70. I think he's priced about a 75, so he might go up slightly. Let me have a look. Grant's break even was 39 and he's priced at 644. So he's gone 30 points above break even, which is a projected change of, it says nothing here. Great Supercoach. I would say he goes up another 30k, so that takes him to 670, which is probably still not out of reach. Like, if you can afford 644, I wouldn't say 670 is out of reach. Is Grant a must, or is getting May in more of a priority? I would say May, because one of them's going to go up 30k, one of them's going to go up 100k.
No, Taylor May is probably the more priority. It's just the cash rise is going to offset. And look, he can still score points as well. It's not like he's just a cash cow. He's a play in your 17 as well. So if you don't have him, Taylor May this week over Grant.
Would we sell Billy Smith this week if he isn't named in the Roosters team? I'll give you a hot tip. He won't be named in the Roosters team, and I would be holding. Because then I want to look to see what happens round 6. If Kevin Nguama is named round 6, I'm moving on. I'm just going to do a straight swap. But yeah, I wouldn't be selling just yet. It depends on your depth. If you're relying on like a Moan, then maybe. If you got Sean Russell there, you could probably downgrade him to someone. But yeah, two cheap hookers. I can't read this. My eyes are shot. Hang on. Or can you read that to me? The two cheap hookers one from Michael.
Yeah, so saying two cheapy hookers is better. Same also with the front row forward. Just because he's saying they never kill you, so the upside with the hookers is not quite there.
Yeah,
So
that's
saying running
exactly
two
what
cheapy
I've done.
hookers,
I've got
yeah.
Starling and Randall, and then Arrow and Max King. But Max King is starting to test my patience a little bit. Not a sell by any means, but not maybe a play. I was hoping for just that 45, 50 points a game. So not ideal. And Arrow's minute. Like, if he was getting 35s and Arrow was doing what he was doing round 1 and 2, I could stomach it. But if Arrow's minutes have dropped and he's only a 45-point guy, then I'm losing a fair bit of points there. Talakai or Cotter, I would probably say Talakai for the cash grab. And would we keep Keary if we owned? This is basically like, would you keep Keary? Would you keep Sam Walker? Would you keep any of these Roosters halves with the draw they've got? Because this draw, it just keeps sucking me in.
Draw is insane. Look, I sold Sam Walker this week knowing that he's got the good draw, but I didn't have Nico Hines. So for me, it felt like an easy switch to do. It's a bit harder to say, do like Leary to Munster, seeing Munster just scored 26, but he scored 121 the week before. Kiri's not showing signs of getting to that 120 just yet. So I probably wouldn't keep Kiri. I probably would sell if you're looking to go for like a Munster or a Hines. Would you sell Kiri for Dylan Brown? Like, I know, look, we splurge on about him, but it feels strange. Still recommend it because he's going to go up a lot in price now as well.
It's just the fact that like he won't get below a 40-point game. Like, and I said this on Instagram like ages ago. Like, he did fuck all last year. He did nothing and averaged 55. Like, Kiri is a perennial 60-point average guy, and Dylan Brown could be a stepping stone. And like the reason, I don't know, like it's hard. Like, Brown's performing out of his skin, which always worries you about like taking players that are just having huge outlier seasons, but like his floor is just so good. So that's me. I reckon we answer 2 or 3 more, mate, and then I'll let you hit the frog and toad. Josh King, would you keep him? Yes. Josh King, would you buy him? Yeah. Josh King. Yeah, I'm not really answering that question in too much detail because you keep him. I'm going to rephrase that. Josh King, do you buy him? I'm in the no after today's performance. Yeah, he scored a try, scored 54, awesome. But like, he ain't scoring a try every week, and he got 38 points without the try, or 37 points. That's for me is a no.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily a buy. Probably fine hold. But if he continues to put scores like that, take away the try, then it looks like he'll probably cap in price relatively soon. So no, I would still hold him, but buying him I wouldn't recommend. But I don't think he's a sell either.
No, not a sell, way. Not a buy. If you own, awesome. If you don't own, he's not going to burn you too hard. Thoughts on trading Cobbo to Xavier Coates if you can afford it? Because Cobbo is going to be cheap, and Xavier Coates is going to go up a lot. His break even was 9, and he's got 85. So Xavier Coates is going to be, I would say, 400k this week, and Cobbo will be 100. So you're going to have to find the cash to get in. But yeah, obviously I like that. Haven't used a trade boost yet, but we'll be using one this week. Well done to hold off trading, using them for so long. I used it round 2 just to fix my team. Or not round 2, like the start of round 3 to fix my team. Thoughts on Luke Brooks? I don't know if this is a piss take. I'm going to leave that. And let me find one more question, and then we'll finish up on that one. Is it okay to have... Oh, you're gone. Is it okay to have Pappy, Grant, Coates, Hughes, Munson, Saint? Okay, so is it okay to have the 9, the 6, the 7, and the 5, and the 1? So you've got the entire spine and the wing. That's a big stack. If it pays off like today, fantastic. But like, I don't see a world where Hughes, Munster, Grant, and Pap all fire. It's not like the 6 and 7 from Parramatta where they play different sides of the field. Like, you're relying on a lot of things to go well there to have the entire spine kill it. But then again,
I'd maybe lose one of them.
Then
one of Hughes and Munster I'd lose.
Then again, they scored 44 points today, and it was only Munster that didn't fire. Like, Hughes got over 60, Grant got over 70, Papenhuyzen nearly fucking broke the internet. Coates got 85. But then again, like, if Munster improves his output, does that take away from the other guys? Like, that's the thing.
Yeah. I feel like there's one too many. Yeah.
I started the season with 5 Roosters. I think I had Crichton, Sam Walker, Billy Smith, Daniel Tupou, and Tedesco. So I had 5 Roosters, but they play on the wings and stuff rather than the spine. But yeah. Can you do Stags to Manu? Yes. Stags to Campbell Graham? Yes. And that's going to be kind of it. I reckon that's going to wrap it up. I didn't actually tell you about you staying on for 10 minutes after, so I stitched you up here a little bit. But yeah, I'm assuming this will be re-uploaded on your channel tomorrow. But for anyone that wants to watch what you do, you don't really do podcasts, you do like fantastic 20-30 minute breakdowns. We had you on a couple of weeks ago, but for any new viewers, obviously, yeah, where can we find you? I will actually post a link to your channel while you're giving yourself a plug right now.
Yep. So on YouTube, Adaman Talks NRL Supercoach, and on Twitter, Adaman Talks NRL SC. Yeah, kind of 30 to 40 minute videos. Sometimes they stretch out to as well, just covering the major topics of the podcast, but a bit more of a visual format. But no, appreciate you having me on. All good about answering questions. That's fine. But I probably should sleep soon. I'm supposed to wake up at 5 a.m.
No, all good. I just
Probably
posted.
should head off soon.
I just posted the link to your channel in the chat, so hopefully everyone goes and checks it out. It does some fantastic things. See you guys on Teamless Tuesday. I have an idea as to who we want to get, but it's a case whether they want to say yes. I'd love to have a Mart on, but yeah, Tuesdays just aren't a fantastic day for him. But fingers crossed, mate. We'll see you back here on Sunday, hopefully next week.
Yep, hopefully.
Hopefully with a better score than 1,300. I reckon we're on the up, mate. This is it.
Ooh. If not a better score, hopefully a better poem.
No, mate, I think you've set the bar very, very high with the poem, so it's going to be hard to come back from that. The chat exploded, so that was some good content. Hey, guys, all right, thank you very much. No formal outro because normally it's just you and I talking at the end. Bro, I appreciate you jumping on. I very much appreciate that.
No, all good, mate. Good to see you doing well this season as well. And yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Hey, couldn't do much worse than last year. Let's keep it up. But then again, I was ranked like 1,000s after round 4 last year, so I don't want to jinx it. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, my man. That was good.